You know that classic movie brawl, right? Well, what if I told you that in the eyes of the law, a punch doesn't even have to land to be a crime? Today, we're going to break down the surprising legal definition of assault, and trust me, it's probably not what you think. So think about it. Somebody lunges at you, you duck, and they don't even touch you. Is that a crime? What about just shaking a fist at someone during a heated argument? These are exactly the kind of questions we're going to answer. We're going to get to the bottom of what assault really is, legally speaking. So here's our game plan. We'll start with the core definition, then look at some related offenses. It's kind of like a family tree. We'll break down the legal ingredients needed for a conviction, check out the consequences, and then explore common defenses. And to wrap it all up, we'll run through a quick case study to put our new knowledge to the test. All right, let's jump right in. First up, what is legal assault? And right off the bat, here's the first big surprise. It's not always about a physical fight. The law is way more specific than that. And here it is, the official legal definition. Now, the words you really need to focus on are intentional, apprehension, and imminent. This is absolutely critical. No punch has to land. The crime is in creating the fear of being harmed. That right there is a total game changer in understanding what assault is all about. Now, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing, right? The law splits assaults into two main categories, simple and aggravated. The real difference maker, it's all about severity. A simple threat might be a misdemeanor, but the moment you bring a weapon into it, causes serious injury, or target someone like a police officer, it gets bumped up to a felony. And that's a whole different ballgame with much, much tougher consequences. Okay, so we've got the main definition down, but here's the thing. Assault kind of has this big, confusing family of related crimes, and people mix them up all the time. So let's untangle this family tree. This table breaks it down perfectly. See? Assault is the threat. Just shaking a fist can be enough. Battery, that's the follow-through, the actual unwanted physical contact. Domestic violence is basically an assault that happens within a specific family or household relationship. And if you add a weapon to that initial threat, well, that becomes its own separate and very serious charge. Knowing these differences is absolutely key. So, if a prosecutor wants to prove an assault charge, what do they actually have to do? Well, you can think of it like they're following a recipe with very specific must-have ingredients. There are exactly 3 key ingredients they have to prove. First, intent. Was the act done on purpose? You can't just accidentally assault someone. Second, apprehension. Did the victim have a reasonable fear they were about to get hurt, like right now? And third, was the contact they were afraid of unwanted? A prosecutor needs to prove all 3 of these for a conviction. Okay, so let's say the prosecutor has all the ingredients. They've made their case. What happens now? Let's talk about the real-world stakes and the penalties involved. And wow, just look at this. The stakes could not be more different. A misdemeanor assault might get you fines or short stint in county jail, which is no joke. But a felony, like an aggravated assault, we're talking potential years in state prison. The classification of that crime can literally change your entire life. But it's not just a simple calculation. A judge looks at what are called aggravating factors, things that make the crime worse, and mitigating factors, which can actually lessen the sentence. So for example, a defendant with a clean record might get a lighter penalty. But using a weapon? That's an aggravating factor that's going to make things way worse, almost every time. But you know, a charge is just one side of the story, right? The defense gets their turn, and the law actually provides some really powerful arguments against an assault charge. And the big one, the one everyone knows, is self-defense. The key word here, and it is a huge one, is reasonable. The law says you can absolutely defend yourself, but your response has to be proportional to the threat you're facing. And it's not just about you. You can also step in to protect someone else who's in immediate danger. But again, the exact same rule applies. The force you use has to be reasonable and proportional to the threat. Then you've got this interesting one, consent. Think about it like sports. A hockey player can't sue another player for a body check because, by getting on the ice, they've agreed to that kind of contact. This defense basically argues that the so-called victim actually consented to the act. Okay, theory time is over. Let's put all this knowledge to the test with a classic scenario and see if we can figure out the legal issues at play. So here's the scene. Pat says it's just a joke, but picks up a bottle. Chris, seeing this, reacts by throwing the first punch. Seems straightforward? Oh, not in the eyes of the law. This is where it gets really complicated. So first up, let's tackle intent. Pat can scream, "I was just kidding," all day long, but the law doesn't just care about what was in Pat's head. It cares about how a reasonable person would see it. Intending to make the threat can be enough, even if Pat never intended to actually follow through.
Okay, now let's flip the script and look at it from Chris's perspective. Was it reasonable for Chris to be scared? I mean, yeah, they're friends, but there's a bottle involved now. That changes things, doesn't it? A jury would have to decide if Chris's fear was reasonable in that specific moment.
And for the final piece of the puzzle, what about that punch Chris threw? Can Chris really claim self-defense? Did Pat's actions create such an immediate threat that a punch was the only reasonable answer? See? This is a perfect example of a legal gray area. So what does this whole bar fight mess teach us? It's this, and it's probably the most important takeaway of the day. Legal assault isn't about the punch. It's about the moments before the punch, the intent to create fear, and the reasonable fear itself. The crime is often committed long before any physical contact ever happens. So from now on, whether you're watching a movie or seeing something on the news, you'll see it differently. You'll be able to look past the drama and see the legal machinery working underneath. What actions are creating that reasonable fear? When does a threat cross the line into a crime? It's a whole new way of looking at things, isn't it? I hope this helped clear things up.